Oh, good morning, everyone. It is 10 a.m. Central Time, and that means it is time for Sunday Tech Support. Today, we're going to talk about the new Google subscription service for apps. We're going to talk about what phone you should buy next. We're going to talk about what to do with your old phone, some really cool shortcuts on the web, how Microsoft is trying to get onto your Android phone and make your life a little easier, and what's going to happen when 3G cell coverage goes away. So let's get started. All right, I am Levi Sauerbrei. I am the Nerd Butler, and in all of my content, I talk about tips, tricks, tools, tutorials, resources, and recommendations to help you do more with the technology you already have and make some smart choices about the technology you're going to use in the future, because technology is not a luxury. It's something that affects us every day. So if you are joining live on YouTube, please get logged in. You can put your question in the live chat, and I'll be watching that as we go along. And I look forward to talking to y'all, and we're just going to go through the list of things I have. If somebody has a question they want to throw it in there, I will diverge from the schedule to answer those questions. All right, the first thing I wanted to talk about is something that I just picked up last week, which is Google Play Pass. Now, Google Play Pass is basically a subscription service to Google's App Store, and while it does not have every single app that the Play Store has, it does have quite a few, particularly games. There are some also some productivity apps in there, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But Google Play Pass is basically a way for Google to sort of get some ongoing revenue from you. Instead of picking up, $1 for a game here or there or some in-app purchases, they want you to subscribe. Now, I picked it up 3 or 4 months after it started because they finally came out with the annual price after their initial intro offer was done that was, designed to get everybody in there and trying it out. It's now $30 a year. So I signed up for a year just to see what it was like. I am not what I would call a heavy gamer on the phone, but I do like to have little time-wasting games, but I hate ads in them. So Google Play Pass has really been pleasant for me for the last couple of weeks to just pick out a few games to, pick out a few games to waste a little bit of time. And like I said, there's also some productivity apps in there. In particular, I saw a couple of calendar apps that in the past were running like $5 to buy it, or maybe they had an annual subscription with them, but now they're in there. So Google Play Pass, as I mentioned, it's either $5 a month or $30 for the year. The cool thing about most of Google's services, particularly when it comes to Android, is if I spend the $30 per year, anyone in my family unit also gets that subscription. So that's the same way it is with YouTube Music, YouTube Premium, with YouTube TV. Whoever's in your designated family unit gets access to the same services you've already paid for. So if you're paying the $30 a year for Google Play Pass, that means up to 5 people, including yourself, can join in that program. What that means is if you have a couple of kids in the house that have been running up your credit card bill by purchasing games on their tablets, you might want to look into that, just because it's a nice way to expand the repertoire without blowing a bunch of money on in-app purchases and other things. As I said, it doesn't include every app on the Google Play Store, but it does include quite a few. And while I've had to hunt around a little bit, I have found a couple of games that have really made my life a little more enjoyable as I'm stuck at home with a little more free time on my hands. So that's Google Play Pass. You should definitely check it out. I think now that I'm talking about it, I will probably do a video at some point just on the Google family, making notes to myself, on the Google family units. As I said, they tie in so many of their products: the YouTube TV, Google Play Pass, YouTube Music, YouTube Premium, which means no ads on YouTube, which is way more valuable than you realize until you have it. All of those things for one monthly price can include up to 5 people in your household as well. So it's a really good value for folks that have, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 devices in their house on a bunch of different accounts that all are using these services. So that's Google Play Pass. I encourage you to check it out. I also did a video this week about what phone I'm planning on buying next and how excited I am about the fact that a couple of years ago, phones started getting really, really expensive. $1,000, $1,200, $1,500. You can find some $2,000 phones now. And these aren't like the gold-plated phones that, someone in UAE was buying. These are just consumer available. Walk into the Verizon store and you can spend $2,000 on phones. And during that time, for the last 2 to 3 years, that phone in the mid-range, that phone between $300 and $500 kind of disappeared. So we were left with a choice between $100 phones that you knew you were going to throw away in 6 months, or $800, $900, $1,000, $1,200 phones. So I was really excited to see, I think Apple kind of did it first with the iPhone SE, which is every bit an iPhone. In fact, it's got the same processor in it that the iPhone 11 does, but it costs $500 instead of $1,000. They did that by reducing the screen quality a little bit, reducing the build quality a little bit, but it's still an iPhone. It does all the things that iPhones do. So if you were looking for a new iPhone, but you didn't want to drop $1,000, you could now find the iPhone SE for $500. Similarly, Google is about to announce the Pixel 4a. In fact, I've been getting a ton of emails from Google to pre-order and to trade in my old Pixel 2. The Pixel 4a is $350. The trade-in on my 3-year-old Pixel phone is $50, so I can get it for $300 right now, which is a great value for a phone that is probably 80 to 90% as good as the current top-of-the-line Google phone. So I know Samsung also has, let's check this out, because I hadn't really investigated the Samsung that much yet. But Samsung also has their A51, which, again, runs about $500. The iPhone SE runs about $500. So the Pixel 4a is less expensive. It's also got slightly lower specs. They have a spec chart in here. But all of these phones in this $300 to $500 range have decent cameras. They have decent specs. They have, they're fast enough, unless you're a hardcore phone gamer. They're all fast enough to get the job done, and they're going to last you at least 2 years very comfortably, and maybe longer. So I've used my Pixel 2 XL for about 3 years now, and it's time to upgrade it. And when I do, I would like a phone that's going to last me 2 to 3 years. A couple of years ago, the only way I could do that was to spend $1,000. Now we have these lovely mid-range phones that are, as you can see, they run between $350, $400. If you really amp up on the iPhone SE storage, you can spend $550, but you can get an iPhone now for $400 if that's what you want to do. Again, if you're an iPhone family, that is something that, maybe that's one you shoot for the kids to have, because you don't want to go out and spend $1,200 on a souped up iPhone 11 Pro. What else we got going on today? All right. I saw an article actually this morning talking about what to do with your old phones. And it is interesting. If you are a little bit of a tinkerer, there are plenty of things you can do with your old phone. You can turn them into almost any kind of camera you want, a security camera, a baby monitor. You can turn it into a webcam with a little bit of tinkering. If you're not a tinkerer and your phone is 2 to 3 years old, what you should actually do is look for a place to sell it. There's a couple places to do that, and I didn't have the sites pulled up yet, but I'm going to grab a couple of them just to show y'all. Let's see. Trading categories. All right, so this is Amazon's trade-in portal, and it's, if you just Google Amazon trade-in phone, you can come in here and you can pick out, what kind of phone do I have? Do I have an XS? Do I have, how far back does it go? All the way back to the 6S, the 6 Plus, the iPhone 6. Now that's only $15, but they'll pay for the shipping. So it'll take it off your hands and you can feel a little better about not just throwing that in the trash and causing an environmental impact, and you get a nice little bonus. Now, the 6 is quite a few years old. If you have an iPhone 7, if you have an iPhone 8, we're talking now like enough money to actually buy something valuable. So Amazon is one place to go for that. There are other services that provide that. I think Gazelle is still in operation. So Gazelle is a place where you can buy or sell used phones. But if we go ahead and trade, same deal. You just come in. Gazelle actually takes a bunch of different things. I have actually sold some stuff through Gazelle before, and they are really easy to use. You just click, click, click. I'm going to sell a Samsung phone, and it basically asks you like 3 or 4 questions. What carrier is that phone on? Let's just say it's with Sprint. And then what do I have? Well, I've got a Note 10, and then they're going to ask you what kind of condition it's in. Flawless, if you've never taken out of the box. Most phones are going to be in good or fair condition. I'm going to say good. Now, if it's got like a broken screen, you have to put broken. But let's just say it's in good condition, and they kind of define for you what that is. And Gazelle would give me $342, and they would take care of the shipping if that were the case. If I go ahead and accept this offer, they'll send me a box. I'll put the phone in the box. I'll send it back to them. As soon as they get it and look at it and confirm that I wasn't lying about what kind of phone it was or what condition it was in, that money will hit my account. It's really straightforward. So Gazelle.com, Amazon also has a trade-in portal. If you Google around, I'm sure you can find others. But if you're not someone who wants to tinker, I think that trading in your old phone is worthwhile. If you've taken care of the phone, it's still in good shape. If it works and the screen's not cracked, you can probably get some money out of it if it's, 3 years old or less. I'm flying through things. Guys, I want to encourage you, if you're watching this, to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll be notified about upcoming videos. I am working really hard to grow that channel and to get some more regular content out there, so I appreciate you letting me bother you on a Sunday morning. If you have any tech questions, please leave them in the live chat, and we will get those answered. If you didn't make it to the live broadcast and you want to leave a comment with a question or some feedback, please do. You can also check me out at nerdbutler.com or find me on social media at nerdbutler. Quick, run the graphic again. nerdbutler.com or at nerdbutler on social media. Hit me up with any question you have, any comments you have about what I'm saying, and or just feedback. So what kind of content would you like to see more of? All right, so we've talked about PlayPass, Pixel 4a. This is a pretty Google-centric broadcast today because I don't actually have the iPhone set up to share on the computer if that comes up, but I will by next week. And so there's going to be some more opportunities to talk about iOS and Apple as we go along. If you guys have questions about that, please let me know. Something that happened around the middle of last year and really I think is very cool and very convenient in a lot of ways, but snuck under the radar for a lot of people, is the creation of the .new domain. So .com is the one we all know about, and we're starting to see things like .io in more common use. .org we know about is generally a nonprofit. .edu, .gov. We all know what these top-level domains are, but sometime around the middle of last year, we really started to see more use of the .new top-level domain. So what do we do with that? Well, it's actually really interesting. And there was a blog back in October from Google, but like I said, I feel like this one kind of just snuck under the radar a little bit. So .new is intended as a domain that allows shortcuts on the web, really easy shortcuts, really quick and clean shortcuts. So what does that mean? It means if I want to make a new something, I can just type in that .new. So let's see some examples of how that might work. Excuse me. So Google owns the .new top-level domain. So the first ones that existed, Google created. But if I type in something like docs.new, I immediately jump to a brand new blank Google Doc. Similarly, if I type in sheets.new, I jump to a brand new spreadsheet. It's a really quick and easy way to create that new document. I can do the same thing with slides, which would create a new Google presentation. But Google has decided to sell .new domains for a variety of purposes. So there's a few other companies that are already doing this. Now, I'm not a Spotify user, but if I were, I could go to my browser and type in playlist.new, and that would create a brand new playlist on Spotify where I could just start adding songs. If you are someone who writes their blog posts on Medium, you can type story.new. Canva, which is a graphics editing tool that I use a lot, bought one and set up canva.new. So for instance, if I type in canva.new, I come to a brand new, shiny, clean, empty Canva graphic that I can just start working on immediately. So these .new shortcuts are really quick and handy. Any company that wants to can set one up. WebEx.new would create a new WebEx meeting. I think the one that's going to get used the most in my home is by my wife, who is a calendar junkie. And if she just types cal.new, it opens up a brand new empty calendar appointment that she can fill out and get on her calendar. So .new is just kind of an interesting new way for folks to use the web. As we go along, the web becomes more and more functional, and we get further and further away from the time when you needed a whole bunch of software installed on your computer in order to make this stuff work. So I think those were all of the really interesting ones that I could find. Now, this blog post that I'm going through was from 2019. There might be some new ones out there, but just for giggles, you might try typing in something .new and see what happens. All right. The other thing that I started doing actually just this week, because Microsoft has upgraded their software and they've really been pushing the integration between Android and Windows. So there's been for a while, since Windows 10 came out, there have been a few ways for you to integrate your Android phone with your Windows computer. You could put your phone number in and it would sort of sync up your contacts and maybe show you your text messages and a few other things. Microsoft has greatly expanded that. So now, after playing around with this week, I've actually been really happy with the results. I'm going to go ahead and share this again. So this is the Your Phone app from Microsoft. I have it installed on my phone as well. And let me go grab that real quick and show it to you. So here we go. So this is what it looks like on my phone. This is the phone app. Now, the app on your phone doesn't really do very much. It's mostly a portal to connect your phone over to your computer. Microsoft has taken the opportunity to kind of promote all of their other apps if you wanted to put them on your phone. So you can scroll through here and see Microsoft. They used to own Windows Phone. They bought Nokia and they tried to make their own phone operating system, and that really did not go well for them. So they have, in the last few years, made a really sincere effort to make their apps work better on both iOS and on Android. So if you have not tried out the mobile versions of Word, the mobile version of PowerPoint or Excel, if you haven't tried the Microsoft tools on your phone recently, I highly suggest you go back and give it another look, just because they have done a lot of work to make those tools integrate better and to function on your mobile device, whether it's a tablet or a Chromebook or an iPhone or an iPad. There's a lot of folks I know who think that the iPad version of Word is the best version of Word. They don't want to use it on a desktop. They don't want to use it on a phone. On an iPad, the Microsoft Word app is actually super powerful and easy to use. So they've done a lot of work in this area to get things integrated. So here we go. All right. So this is the Your Phone app, which means I get all of the notifications that are on my phone on my computer. Their intent and what they have said is they're hoping that you can sit at your Windows computer and never take your phone out of your pocket. So let's think about what that means. That means that I need to be able to get all my text messages. I need to be able to move some files back and forth maybe, and I need to be able to make and receive calls on my computer without pulling my Android phone out of my pocket. This app allows all of that to happen. Now, I've only made a couple of phone calls with it, and the experience has been a little hit or miss. The folks I called told me that the call quality was okay, but it was a little spotty from time to time, which makes sense. This is the toughest thing we're doing. But text messages, notifications, all of that works super smoothly. And I think maybe the coolest thing that they do is, let me go ahead and snap a quick selfie here. So I'm going to go ahead and take a picture and click, took the picture. There we go. Now, because my phone is connected to my computer, you see how quickly that picture came across. That's a great face I'm making. I really should have maybe posed a little better. But I can go ahead and open that picture up, look at it, maybe save it to my computer in downloads. Let's put it in downloads. Go ahead and save that. So now that's on my computer. So if you're somebody that doesn't really like using iCloud or Google Photos to store and manage your photos, I highly recommend Google Photos. I love it. But this tool is actually really cool for times when I want to take a quick picture and then maybe throw it into an email that I'm going to send out immediately. But I want to write the email on my desktop. Eve has joined us in the live chat, and she says, I've never asked a question. Is this how to do it? Yes, Eve, you have done a lovely job. Thank you so much for joining us. So the Microsoft Your Phone app, they have finally gotten almost everything right about a phone to PC integration. I know that there are some versions of Linux that have done this before and do a pretty good job, but I think for sort of a mass market tool, Microsoft is getting a lot closer to that Macintosh, Apple, iOS ecosystem where you can see all of your messages on your Mac that came in on your iPhone. You can move, you can airdrop files back and forth. The Microsoft Your Phone app is getting really close to that kind of solid integration. So I want to show you where you can go to check that out. Where you can go to check that out and learn more about it. So it is at, let's just look here because I haven't done it this way before. This is the Microsoft Store. So they talk about Your Phone. I just Googled Microsoft Your Phone, but here we talk a little bit about what the requirements are and what you will need to do to install it. You will have to install the app on your phone from the Google Play Store, and you will have to install it on your computer as well. But they have gotten really, really close to a seamless and complete integration between the phone and your computer, including phone calls, which I think is the piece I'm going to play with a little bit more, because if that's the case, then I really can set my phone to charge over on the side and just never look at it again, because I know I'm going to get all my notifications. I know I'm going to be able to answer phone calls and make phone calls. Pretty excited about that as far as new software goes. The other thing I wanted to talk about is something that came out, and I think I wrote about it a couple weeks ago. AT&T sent out a whole bunch of letters to folks basically saying, your phone is about to die and you need to get a new one. And when you read through it a little closer, what you found out was that at the end of sometime in 2022, AT&T is going to be shutting down its 3G network. Now, 2022 is a long time from now, and the letters seem to imply that folks were going to have to run out and get a new phone right now. So they caught a lot of flack for that. But the kernel of that actually turns out to be true kind of across the board. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, all of these providers are shutting down their 3G network. Now, you've probably seen 5G sort of splattered across the billboards and the advertisements lately. 5G is coming. It's not here yet, and I've written about that before and done some videos about that before. Don't run out and buy a phone just because it has 5G. If the phone you want to buy has it, that's great, but it's going to be 2-3 more years before that's something that you really need to worry about spending your money on. But what is 3G? So the speeds and the technology that is used in cell phones on the transmission tower side, in the radios themselves, is basically labeled with a G. So 3G is third generation, 4G is fourth generation, 5G fifth generation. 4G is also known as LTE in some places. So what's happening is all of these major carriers are shutting down their 3G networks. Now, they've all made really early announcements and sort of like aggressive sounding announcements because they want people to not call them angrily when their phones stop working. Do you need to worry about your phone not working once this happens? Some of these companies are shutting this stuff down at the end of this year. Most of them are shutting it down sometime in 2021. Your phone probably shouldn't stop working unless it's a very old phone. If you have a phone that is 5 years old or more, you should seriously consider upgrading it because there's a pretty good chance it's not going to work as soon as all this stuff shuts down. However, if you bought your phone within the last 2 to 3 years, you're probably okay for another year or two at least. I think personally that as time goes on, we're going to find that this shutdown is going to be delayed because there are unintended consequences to doing this. Everybody just thinks about, oh, well, old phones, everybody's going to replace those, and then it won't matter anymore because there won't be any more 3G phones. But there are lots of things, lots of technologies that were built on the back of 3G. And as I was scrolling through it, one of the interesting ones I found was every car made before 2014 that has OnStar service uses 3G. I actually had a device plugged into my van that would track its speed and its destination and its mileage and all this engine information. It was really cool. And it was running over the 3G network. There are some Kindles that get updates over 3G. And the Kindles will last a very long time. So it's not just phones that they have to worry about. There's a lot of things that are built on the back of 3G that I think these carriers are going to have to consider before they completely get rid of that technology. But you can see from the headlines over the last couple of weeks, the last month or so, all of these carriers, T-Mobile, AT&T, Sprint, which is now part of T-Mobile, they're all getting ready to turn off their 3G network so they can spend their money building out more 5G while all of us continue to use 4G. And if that's not enough G's for you, we can talk about it some more later. But if you have an old phone, and by old, I mean you bought it in 2015 or earlier, you really need to spend the rest of this year shopping around, seeing what you can get, seeing what offers are out there. If you just want to go down to your Verizon store or go online on Verizon, since we don't really go into stores that much anymore, and look and see what's available. Like I said, there's this really great class of phones now. The iPhone SE, we talked about this earlier, the Pixel 4a, a couple from Samsung that are super quality devices that are going to last you multiple years, that are going to cost you less than $500. All right, Eve has a question. We're getting a new house. And do we suggest the Ring doorbell or are there other brands to consider? Ring is a really quality product. I'm going to look up best video doorbells. Ring is definitely a quality product. There are plenty of competitors now, so you don't have to be stuck with just that one. I feel like while I really like the Ring, and I've put several of them in friends and family's homes, we have one at our house. If I had to buy one today, I would probably not buy the Ring for a couple of reasons. For one, in our home, we use the Google Voice Assistant and not the Amazon Echo. Ring is now owned by Amazon. They're doing a really good job of integrating the Ring products with that Echo ecosystem, so you can talk to your Amazon Echo and tell it to give you some information about your doorbell. Is the battery dead? If you have everything set up just right, you can say, show me who's at my front door. It'll pop up on your TV. Like, the integration there is really good. But I don't like Ring for a couple of reasons. One, they've had numerous and repeated problems with the way they handle video data, both internally and externally. They're losing some, and they have they have employees internally that have access to it that shouldn't. They've had kind of a mess with that, and you see about one story every 3 months or so about something else with the Ring storage of data that is problematic. Simply Safe is a product I haven't tried yet, but is highly recommended by a lot of people I respect. They do a very nice job, and because they are not yet owned by a larger corporate overlord, their job is to keep your data safe and to give you a really good service at a really good price. And they do it, and they're pretty easy to use. So I think the Simply Safe doorbells are really nice. Let's see what else we got in here. ADT, I do not have a lot of experience with. I think we got some more in here if I can get to them. There we go. All these others, the Arlos I'm seeing more and more of. Again, haven't tried them yet, but they are getting very good recommendations. The Nest Hello Video Doorbell. Now, like I said, we use Google products in the house. I am a very Google-centric person. I've kind of bought completely in on all of that. The Nest Hello Video Doorbell. Nest is owned by Google, and that means that, again, while if you don't trust Google with your data, you shouldn't get it. If you use all the Google tools, the integration is much better. Same deal. I can ask my Google Home Assistant to show me who is standing at my front door. Or if somebody rings my doorbell and I have my TV connected in the right way, while I'm watching TV, somebody rings the doorbell, the person standing at the front door, I will see on my television. So I'll know who's there and I can talk to him right away. So there's some really cool integrations with Nest and Google, just like there's some really cool integrations with Ring and the Echo, if you're comfortable with those companies having all of your data. Now, they have a lot of data anyway, so that's a much longer conversation for another time, but I do think that there are some good alternatives out there. ADT is a really interesting one because they've been doing home security for a really long time, and they just recently got into this more self-service model, similar kind of like what Simply Safe is doing. So there are lots of options out there, and it's definitely worth shopping. If you can base this entirely on price, you can base it on what do the integrations look like, what does it work with, how good are the apps, and if you go to actually safety.com/video-doorbells, there's a really good rundown here of a whole bunch of different models that I think you could look at. If you have specific questions about that, you want to get back to me, I'd be happy to give you a little more information about it. Eve also asked, it seems like the August keypad on the door locks are temperamental. Would I buy it again or look at other brands? That's interesting. They are a little temperamental. I am less concerned about that than I am about the fact that it takes a lot of moving parts, for lack of a better word, to make that whole thing work. So we have an August smart lock. I love the August smart lock for a couple reasons, and they actually just came out with a new version of it, which we'll pull up here real quick. But the August smart lock is nice because unlike some other kinds of smart locks where you have to replace the entire mechanism, the August smart lock, you just take off the interior portion of your deadbolt and put the August lock on there, and it just turns your existing deadbolt. So you're not really replacing all of the hardware. You're just replacing the turning mechanism on the inside. So on the outside, your doorknob hardware looks just like it does from whatever came with it. The problem arises when you want to add a keypad to that. The keypad connects to the lock via Bluetooth. The lock uses 4 AA batteries and the keypad uses 2 AAA batteries, and it goes through batteries a lot. It goes through them very quickly. So I think part of the problem is I bought the August lock a little early, before they had completely perfected it. I think the newer ones are actually pretty solid, and they have, they've refined things like the battery life. They've refined things like the connectivity between the keypad and the lock itself. The other thing I don't like about the August is I had to buy yet another little box that plugs into the wall that connects to the lock via Bluetooth so that it could be on my Wi-Fi network, so that I could check the status of the lock or unlock it or lock it from outside of my home. The way the August lock is intended to work by itself is that you, as the homeowner, would walk up to the front door, take your phone out, tap in the app, and unlock the door via Bluetooth. That's pretty clunky for the August lock. Like, I really don't like the way that works. Now, with the keypad and with the Wi-Fi adapter, it works out really well. But that is a lot of extra money to spend to get functionality that I kind of think should be part of the process anyway. So the third generations, as you see on the screen, the third generation of August locks, I think are pretty solid. They've improved the battery life. They've solved a couple other problems there. But there are definitely other brands you can consider. A company that I really love that I want to recommend to everybody, if you're looking to sort of get started with smart home devices, but you don't want to spend a ton of money to do it, is a company called Wyze, and that's W-Y-Z-E. They were a really interesting company. They were started by a couple of former Amazon executives, and their goal is to make products and sell them with really small profit margins. So they're making almost no money on this, but they think that the efficiency of their manufacturing and the number that they're going to be able to sell is going to help them make enough money to stay in business. They're not trying to take over the world the way Amazon is. They're just trying to have their cool little company and do cool little things. We just got the Wyze scale, which I have really enjoyed. For $20, it is amazing. It gives you your weight, your body fat percentage, it gives you your heart rate, it gives you all the numbers you would get from a DEXA scan, like muscle mass and bone density and all of that. And it might not be the most accurate thing in the world, but if you're just tracking trends over time, it links very easily with the app, and it logs all of that stuff for you, and it lets you put that into Google Fit or Fitbit or some other health software. When we talk about locks, they actually did, trying to scroll down to where their home stuff is, they've started getting into the home security, kind of like what Simply Safe has been doing. So they sell sensors, and they sell locks. Again, $100, $20 additional for the keypad. And I think compared to the August option, if you were just trying to figure out if a smart lock is the way you want to go, I think this is a very reasonable purchase to make. You're going to spend less money than you would if you bought the August with the keypad, with the Wi-Fi connection, with everything you needed. So check out Wyze.com, W-Y-Z-E. All of their cameras too, I'm super into. They kind of make products to fit the moment and fit the need. So you can see they have a no-touch forehead thermometer. They're selling face masks now, as pretty much everyone is. And their cameras are really cool. Look at the prices on these cameras: $20, $30, $50 for the really advanced one, $40 for an outdoor camera. We have these cameras, and I have actually, using them as security cameras. They just sit there, they're plugged in, they have motion sensors on them, they have night vision on them, and this is the actual cost of the camera. If you compare this to other sort of closed circuit or security cameras from Simply Safe or other companies, the Wyze cams are super affordable, and I do think any of the Wyze products, they're pretty good quality, and for the price, they can't be beat. So if you're not sure about, am I going to like using this smart home stuff? I think Wyze is a great company to start with, because you can get things at an affordable price and find out if it's right for you. The light bulbs and the smart outlets, I have a 2-pack of these plugs, $15 for 2 smart outlets. So hook up 2 lamps in your house. It works with both the Amazon Echo and the Google Home Assistant. So you can decide if you're the kind of person who's going to be talking to your house, or if that just doesn't make any sense. But you can decide for 15, 20, 30 bucks. All right. Do I have to use Alexa to work with my Roomba, or will Google work with it? I am fairly certain that the Roomba, we're going to verify. I'm fairly certain that it works with both. Let's see if we can find something that tells us for sure. Typically they work with both. I think, I want to say, up to date. Yeah. So the official word from iRobot, which is a company that makes the Roomba, is that it will work with both. They're saying that your software has to be up to date. So I think with the Roombas, as with a lot of things, because the Amazon Echo was the first sort of mass market voice assistant, a lot of products started working with the Echo first, and then the Google Home Assistant came along, and they had to put in some more time to make it work with that. But now they do. So if all of the software is updated on your Roomba and the software is updated on your phone, you should be able to yell at your Google Home and have it do something with your Roomba. So let's show some of these commands here. If you have a Roomba and you really want your Google Home Assistant to work with it, these are the commands you will be issuing. So start Roomba, start cleaning, pause, resume, stop, dock, which means go home, or send the Roomba home, which I really like. One of the things I love about the Google Voice Assistant is that you can program in your own phrases to execute certain commands. So I would probably program it to say something like, "Hey G, bad Roomba, back in your cage," and that would make the Roomba go back to its dock. So I understand this is the nerdy thing to do, and that's how that goes. But find the Roomba. That's one I think more people would use if they knew it was there. Finding the Roomba. Where did it go? Presumably that makes the Roomba beep or start making noise. And if you have a Roomba mop, there's also additional commands you can use there. So, all right, let's look at my list and see if there was anything else that I wanted to talk to y'all about on this Sunday Tech Support. While we're doing that, I want to remind you, if you are watching this, please subscribe to the YouTube channel so you'll be notified about future videos. And if I've said something that you think a friend or a family member would find useful, definitely share it with them. That is the best way for me to know that this is the kind of stuff you want to see more of. So I really appreciate it. Let's run that graphic one more time. You can find me at nerdbutler.com. There's a contact form there if you want to send me a question, or you can find me all over social media at nerdbutler, and I would be happy to take your inquiries, your feedback, your comments, your criticisms, your questions there as well. Let's see if there was anything else I really wanted to get done. Not a lot. There is actually one more sort of Google-related product thing that's coming up that has a lot of people irked, including me, but this is life and this is how it goes. Google Play Music has been around for quite a while, I think almost 10 years now, and I've been an avid user of it for pretty much since its inception. One of the reasons is, as a service, you can upload your own music into Google Play Music, and it incorporates it seamlessly. So if the Google Play Music catalog has a song and you have a song that isn't in the catalog, you really can't tell the difference between those two things. So all of those bootlegs you picked up in college that you digitized, or if you're like me, you took all of your old cassettes and turned them into MP3s, upload that into Google Play Music, and it was great because it cataloged it and categorized it and gave you all of the information about it right alongside all of the new and incoming music that Google had contracted for. They are replacing Google Play Music with YouTube Music, and they've actually now announced that they will be shutting down Google Play Music starting next month in September. I'm very sad to see it go. I have already made the transition to YouTube Music because they've been saying they were going to do this for quite a while. I also downloaded all of my songs again, so I had my own copies of them because I had been using it as a place to just store that. So if you are a user of Google Play Music and you haven't been prompted yet or you haven't heard, it's probably going to go away in September. So you should get on the stick and get your stuff migrated over to YouTube Music, or frankly, what a lot of people have done is just switch to Spotify. They're tired of Google sort of monkeying around and changing things with their music service too often. Guys, I've been talking for 45 minutes, and I appreciate the questions. I think we'll do this again next week. So if you're watching this and I didn't get around to a question, you want to send it to me, you can email me at levi@nerdbutler.com. You can check me out on social media. You can check me out on the website. We'll be putting up a couple pieces of content this week as well. Go ahead and show you guys the blog. Did a blog and a video about those mid-range phones I talked about at the beginning, it's really easy to grab those now. And we're going to try and do a couple blog posts a week. Apple is about to come out with new MacBooks with brand new processors that I'm kind of excited about. Lots of things. If you guys have any questions, if you're an individual, a family, a small business that's trying to figure out how to use technology to make your life a little easier, or if you have some technology in your life that seems to be slowing you down, that's not what it's supposed to do. So I want to encourage you all to do a little investigation or drop me a note and I'll do the investigation for you, because technology shouldn't be a luxury. It should be something that makes our life better every time we touch it. Thank you so much for joining me on the Sunday Tech Support Show. And I will be back next week with some more tips, tricks, tools, tutorials. Please, if you're watching, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share this link with friends and family if we've said something useful. And I will talk to you guys all next week. Thanks, everybody. Clicking the wrong buttons. Let's try it again. I'll catch you all again next week. Thanks, everybody.